Of course, we don't believe in ghosts. Standing here on the sidewalk in broad daylight, a goblin hasn't a ghost of a chance to spook me. But inside this house, it's a different story. This is a haunted house. So states the Children's Home Society, which invites citizens with brave souls and stout hearts to venture inside. For the sum of 50 cents, you can be happily scared out of your wits, if you believe in ghosts, which, of course, as we said before, we don't. The 50 cents goes to aid the Children's Home Society, the only independent adoption agency in California. Last year, 4,000 people were terrified for the cause. Local merchants supplied the furnishings for the house. The ghosts liked the place and moved in. If you would like to see all this for yourself, the haunted house is located at 1229 Lincoln Avenue in San Jose and will be in the spook business through October 31st. There's an old tale that if you pass within 5 feet of a ghost, you disappear. But then, of course, we don't believe in ghosts.
Halloween, Halloween, hot jack-o'-lantern, it's Halloween. Apples hanging high, there's a big pumpkin pie in the sky. Children sing, children waltz, who gives a darn if your face is false? Jump on your broom like a witch, go and toss all your gloom in the ditch. Go out on the street for a trick or a treat, you're a cinch to strike it rich. Halloween, Halloween, all other holidays fall between. The night of All Hallows, so light up the tallow and make it a bright Halloween. Ringing doorbells, it's Halloween.
You're watching Sleepcore. Pleasant dreams.
Where's the best place to pick up your supplies this Halloween season? Stop into Andover Dance and Costumes Halloween headquarters at the Methuen Mall. We have the largest selection of costumes and accessories for all your party needs. Halloween headquarters has a full supply of superhero and horror disguises, Flintstone, X-Men, and Star Trek characters, and many more. We also offer all the children's favorites, such as Disney's Lion King and Aladdin, and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Red Ranger, Blue Ranger. We have them all. To buy or rent your favorite costume, visit Halloween headquarters at the Methuen Mall.
Undead from Universal Studios in Hollywood, California. The monster movie capital of the world. It's the Horror Hall of Fame 2, the second annual All-Star Tribute to Terror, starring Robert Englund, with special appearances by Pugsley Adams, Adrienne Barbeau, Morgan Brittany, Veronica Cartwright, Roger Corman, The Crypt Keeper, Joe Dante, Brad Dourif, Elvira, Gilbert Godfrey, Timmy Hedren, Ron Howard, Sam Kinison, Lurch, Richard Mall, Vincent Price, Don Rickles, William Shatner, D. Wallace Stone, with lots of horrifying surprises, starting with me. I'm Shadow Stevens.
The Horror Hall of Fame is brought to you by Miller Genuine Draft Light, the beer with the big draft taste, and by rich, creamy Nestle Toll House morsels. Make your house a Toll House. And by Ultra Slim Fast, the delicious, nutritious way to lose weight.
Ladies and gentlemen, your host for the Horror Hall of Fame 2, the man of your nightmares, Mr. Robert Englund.
Good evening, and welcome to the second annual Horror Hall of Fame, also known as Close Encounters of the Bird Kind. This is the one night of the year when we get to salute the biggest monsters in Hollywood, the masters of the macabre, past and present, who first dreamed up our favorite nightmares, whether it's the terror from Transylvania or the torturer from Texas. All of this year's honorees deserve to be put away in a place of honor, the Horror Hall of Fame. The fans of our first presenter have watched her get lost in the fog and caught by a swamp thing. Now they should be on the lookout for Two Evil Eyes, the George Romero shocker in which she stars. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Miss Adrienne Barbeau.
Thank you very much. In 1974, the one movie changed the face of horror history. In fact, it changed a few other faces as well. Not to mention a few arms, legs, fingers, a couple of livers. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight's first inductee into the Horror Hall of Fame, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Get ready.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre has been called a landmark of movie horror. For half a century, horror films had focused on fantasy creatures, supernatural terrors, and accidents of science. Chainsaw changed that by fixing its gaze on the monstrosity of man. What makes its story all the more chilling is that the movie's madmen were inspired by a real-life monster named Ed Gein. When he was arrested by Wisconsin police in 1957, his secluded farmhouse was littered with human bones, and Gein admitted that he liked to wear the skin of his victims. Stories of grave robbing, mass murder, and cannibalism shocked the nation and left an indelible impression on filmmaker Tobe Hooper.
Those images just, they terrified me as a child. They totally freaked me out. And so they stayed back there until it was time to make this movie.
In 1973, Hooper, a native Texan, and co-writer Kim Henkel expanded the Gein story into a screenplay about 5 young people and the murderous family that leads them to the slaughter. The gritty, almost documentary look of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre adds to the film's unsettling air of authenticity. Shooting on a budget of less than $200,000, Hooper avoided elaborate and costly special effects, but chose instead to heighten the horror by skillfully suggesting the terrors left unseen.
We don't show anything. If you can go back and run that movie all the way through, and you're not going to see any actual cutting up or, the only person that really gets bloody is me, and I survived the picture.
The film's infamous meat hook scene is a prime example of Hooper's approach to horror. Though no blood is spilled on screen, the mind's eye perceives every gory detail.
The thing that's compelling about the meat hook scene is just the absolute violence in which the scene is carried off, and the inexorable way that Leatherface goes about his task. It's going to happen, and it's going to get bad. You don't know how bad it's going to get, and I think once the scene is over, you don't really know how bad it was.
On camera, the bloodlettings were faked, but for the actors, shooting sometimes became a painful, real-life ordeal.
I happened to trip over this bucket, and once I had tripped over it, you see, I didn't realize that we would take the scene 13, 15 more times. Well, Toby liked it so much that I had this bucket thing that kicked into the room that he kept it in, and I was sliced.
There are these trees in Austin called mesquite trees, and they have thorns about 2-3 inches thick. And we're running through the woods, and I was supposed to run into a tree branch and knock me out. But I also ran into those mesquite thorns, which the next day had to be removed professionally by a doctor.
Around-the-clock shooting for the climactic dinner scene was the cast's most grueling experience.
You like this, Dave?
Robert Burns, the wonderful art director of the film, had these wonderful props with this chicken head that had been cut off and nailed to a board, and its little feet had been cut off and nailed to this board. And wow, what a great prop. And then they turn the lights on, and this chicken starts to decompose.
He don't like it, ain't that right? You're just a cook. Shut your mouth.
We have head cheese on the table. The smell was just absolutely overwhelming.
We had to call a doctor out because everyone was, well, throwing up.
Let me put this in some kind of perspective for you. I was in Vietnam in a monsoon, crawling through the mud with people trying to take my life. It was more pleasurable than the 24-hour shoot.
When the Texas Chainsaw Massacre opened, reaction was unparalleled. Newspapers across the nation reported viewers leaving theaters shaken, outraged, and overwhelmed. Reviewers praised the film's relentless pace and realism and hailed it as a breakthrough in the cinema of horror. Critic Rex Reed called the Texas Chainsaw Massacre the most horrifying motion picture I've ever seen. What might have been a forgettable drive-in feature was recognized worldwide as a turning point in screen terror. After 17 years, audiences still feel its impact.
Chainsaw is one of the only motion pictures ever made in the history of the medium that's never really, truly been out of release since the day it was made. It's shown somewhere in America every day.
I imagine it'll be popular 50 years from now. With that title, people are just going to always be curious.
The Texas Chainsaw Massacre may not be everyone's idea of entertainment, but it is undeniably a powerful piece of movie making. And in the history of horror, there are few films whose images are quite so disturbing, or whose sounds are quite so disquieting.
Sally, I hear something. Stop. Stop.
Ladies and gentlemen, accepting for the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, its producer, director, and co-writer, Mr. Tobe Hooper.
Thank you. I'd like to accept this on behalf of the cast and the crew and my partner, Kim Hinkle. And I would like to dedicate this honor to Warren Scarron. Without Warren, there may not have been a Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Thank you.
You know, hosting the Horror Hall of Fame is a huge undertaking. And when it comes to undertaking, nobody does it better than America's #1 underground star. Please welcome from HBO's Tales of the Crypt, the Crypt Keeper.
Thanks, Robert. By the way, I loved your opening with the birds. They were so terrifying, so menacing, so frightening, so delicious. Tonight we'll be honoring the birds, if there are any left when we return. So don't crow away.
The Horror Hall of Fame from Universal Studios Hollywood will be right back.
Carve out some fun this Halloween and come out to Pumpkin Fest, Saturday, October 25th. It's fun for the whole family. Stop by and meet your favorite WGN radio personalities. And be sure to bring your food or your money donations to help feed the hungry around Chicagoland. If you can't make it there in person, you can still take part in all the fun with CLTV's updates. That's the WGN Radio 720 Pumpkin Fest Food Drive, all day, Saturday, October 25th, Gobert's Pumpkin Farm, a half-mile west of Barrington Road on Higgins.
The Horror Hall of Fame was established to honor monstrous contributions to the horror, science fiction, and fantasy genres. All of tonight's inductees were chosen by the Horror Hall of Fame Board of Directors, whose members have themselves made lasting contributions to the genre. In addition to selecting our inductees, this odd squad also chooses the best horror film of the year. Our first nominee is a terrifying tale about a novelist who suffers from much more than writer's block when a twisted fan teaches him a whole new meaning to the word misery.
Will she be her old self now that Ian has dug her out, or will she have amnesia?
Have to wait.
Will she still love him with that special, perfect love?
You'll have to wait.
Not even a hint?
Mm-mm.
Oh, misery's alive! Misery's alive! Oh, it's so romantic. Oh, this whole house is gonna be filled with romance. I'm gonna put on my Liberace records.
You know, they say that in space, no one can hear you scream. Well, they obviously never met our next presenter. Ladies and gentlemen, Gilbert Gottfried.
Stop it! Stop! Oh, please stop! Stop it! Hi, I'm Gilbert Gottfried, and I'm here to give you a shriek preview of all the horror films coming out this year. Now, you're probably wondering why I have this space-age yarmulke on. See, the thing is, the producers saw me do my Pee Wee Herman bit on the Emmy show, so they hooked me up to this thing to keep me from saying anything that might be considered offensive or, just inappropriate about the movies or the people in this town who have the audacity to say, Let's roll the clips. Meet the Boy, I wonder if that's one of those families I offended with my Emmy monologue. I can't believe... Ah! This should be a nice, good film.
Don't torture yourself on this. That's my job.
Trick or... Guilty as charged. Boy, I know about that. I mean, I do one Pee Wee Herman routine, and all of a sudden, they... Ah! A date. This is a perfect movie for a date. Go enjoy yourself. Make a night of it.
Here you go, Ricky. I would have gotten you a full role, but you ain't gonna be here that long. The hell, he's just a kid. He's not a kid. He's a killer. And like it says in the Bible, old enough to kill, old enough to die.
Doesn't say that in the Bible.
It says it in my Bible.
Nice handwriting, Al.
Highway to Hell, which is what the censors at the Television Academy put me through because... Ah! Please, take some time out for yourself and see this movie.
Scoop your own brains.
Alien 3. Boy, I sure felt alienated after I did the Emmys. I mean, I do one... Ah! You should enjoy a nice film like this. Thank you. All right, before I go, I'd like to say one thing about the Emmy Academy. I think they had no right to do what they did. Ah! Thank you very much. Pleasure to be here.
Joining us now, our special effects expert, Steve Johnson, the genius behind some of the creature creations in Ghostbusters and The Abyss, and Linnea Quigley, Hollywood's queen of the silver screen. They're going to show us how to make America's scariest home videos.
Thanks, Robert. You know, in the head-spinning world of modern special effects... Oh. We Hollywood special effects experts have got to work our fingers to the bone to come up with some really eye-crossing effects. But with just a little ingenuity and a few simple tricks, you too can dazzle an audience with your very own horror home video. There are lots of ways to really stretch the limits of your imagination. Thanks to cutting-edge, modern technology. But even us pros know we can no longer rely on cheap gimmicks to fool today's sophisticated moviegoers. Oh. Thanks, Linnea. So, if you don't want to lose your head, you'll have to do what we do. Just cross your fingers. And hope your effects turn out with a bang. Or maybe not. You ever wanted to just blow someone away? In a home video, of course. Well, I'm about to show you a way you can do it without anyone going to jail. It's easy. Here you go, Linnea. Give me your best shot. Pretty good, huh? Okay, so to make a bullet hole that's a real killer, all you need is a button, some fishing line, and a little wax. Just tie a very thin fishing line to a small button. Now, fishing line is a good material to use because it's transparent, usually won't read on videotape. And if you do catch a glare, you can spray it black and it should take care of it. Next, paint a portion of the victim's forehead a bloody red color. There are a lot of different types of paint you can use. One of the easiest would be to pick up some acrylic paint at an art supply store. And you need to make sure that the area that you paint ends up being about the size of your button. Next, attach the button. Usually it'll just stick onto the paint, like that. After that, blend the button off with mortician's wax. You can get mortician's wax at a theatrical makeup supply house or your favorite funeral home. You also need to use cold cream to lubricate your fingers because the mortician's wax is really sticky. It makes a big mess if you don't keep your fingers oiled up with it. Another thing that might help, you could use a dental spatula or even a popsicle stick might work to help blend the edges off. And you need to use as little wax as possible over the button so you create as small a bump on the forehead as you can. The last thing to do is press a little powder over the wound. That takes off the shine and helps blend the wax into the forehead. Also, while you're doing the makeup, you really need to be careful about this fishing line because if you knock into it accidentally, it's going to yank it out, ruin your makeup, and lose a lot of time. Then just let her rip. Just let her rip. Here we go. I hate it when that happens.
You're watching Sleepcore, media for insomnia.
Huh? Something, I can smell them burning.
Tell her to turn around.
I really got involved with pumpkins a few years ago when I was taking a trip through the rural Northeast, and became very interested to see the fascination of the real care people took with their celebration of Halloween. Over the years, my apprentissage, if you will, of pumpkin carving, I've come to boil down the basic process of pumpkin carving into several steps. It's important, of course, to choose one's materials carefully. The pumpkins I have here, your basic northern New England sugar variety, and I find would lend themselves well to some of my more intricate designs just because of their firmness and real ability to hold up under some very tough cutting. Furthermore, as you may have noticed, I use some very high quality knives, and I find that in my design it's important that I use a drawing implement which corresponds well both to the consistency of my materials and to the type of tools I'll be using in cutting the actual raw pumpkin. So I find that if I use, for instance, a heavy felt tip marker, it works well for some of the finer fillet knives, and if I use a lighter marker, I can be sure that with a steak knife or sometimes or a bread knife, the correspondence is good between the sensation that the pen on the paper has and the sensation that the knife in the raw pumpkin has too. So I find that that's one of perhaps the key to designing a good pumpkin is choosing one's tools and materials well. The most unusual, really the craziest experience I've ever had with a pumpkin was when I had been out for several days looking for a good plump pumpkin and finally found one and was bringing it back on the Trailways number 43 from New Hampshire, and the bus hit a moose on our way back, and I was holding the pumpkin in my lap, and in fact I was the only one who survived the impact, thanks to this enormous pumpkin that I had in my lap, and in fact cushioned the blow of the impact, really. So that I owe my life to a pumpkin, really. I tend to find that one of the signs of a truly absorbing design in the pumpkin is when I do in fact cut myself or injure myself in carving the pumpkin, because in a sense that's when I'm really most absorbed in my work, and often won't even notice until well afterwards that I have cut myself. But in a way it's only fair, really, just because I'm cutting the pumpkin, and I should share the sensations of that I imagine the pumpkin must be going through at times. The pumpkin high is a widely misunderstood phenomenon. In fact, many people think of it as either a deeply religious experience or a completely chemical intoxication. In fact, it's neither, but really a combination of elements of those two phenomena, and the depth of the sort of creative trance which any artist can experience, and yet combined with the deep connection the pumpkin artist feels with tradition and the sort of pagan spiritual element of the art, and the chemical intoxication which does occur. those three elements combined really tend to lead the pumpkin artist into a sort of trance, which does not generally last longer than several weeks. Halloween for me is the most important day of the year in the sense that it really helps us to resolve some of our fears and yet show parts of ourselves which we never, during the rest of the year, are able to exhibit. Every year for the past 12 years, I believe I've gone as a pumpkin, but I'm thinking this year maybe I'll attempt a new costume and go as an acorn squash.
You're watching Sleepcore. Sleep tight.
There's some spooky happenings for all young goblins at the 3rd annual Halloween Safe Night at the Las Vegas Natural History Museum. All Hallows Eve, Saturday and Sunday, October 30th and 31st, from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m., the Las Vegas Natural History Museum will feature flashlight tours, storytellers, fortune tellers, games, treats, and more. Museum members admitted free, non-members $3 per person. Your nearby Jack in the Box restaurants and Fox 5 TV encourage you to have a safe and sane Halloween.
Well, that's the time for you to say, hey, I'm involved in a company that affords you the opportunity to be your own boss working right out of your home. It's one of the best home-based businesses you can ever get involved in. All I want you to do is become aware of identifying a prospect's wants and needs. Once you become skilled at identifying these wants and needs, you can then begin to use them as a part of your business presentation. Once you build that presentation around the prospect's wants and needs and not your wants and needs, you'll find that closing the sale becomes easier, and boy, will your sponsoring numbers increase. Thank you, and go out and make it happen.
Hi, welcome to Watkins Test Kitchen. I'm Colleen Miner, and my friend here to give you some ghoulish ideas for a happy Halloween. Oh, you say you have to go? Well, he has to go. You know, it's a good thing he left because I don't want to hurt his feelings. We're going to be doing some breadstick bones, a really ghoulish treat. And to do them, we're going to use Watkins pizza crust mix. We just take 1 package of pizza crust mix and add 1 cup of water at 110 degrees. How do you figure out 110 degrees? Well, my grandma always used to say, if it's good for the baby, it's good for the bread. But this is the way I do it, more modern. I have an instant read thermometer. It's a great handy gadget to have into the kitchen. Okay, so we've mixed our pizza crust dough together, and we're going to cut it into strips and then roll it out into a long snake like I've done here. Now this is so simple and yet so much fun. You take the snake and at each end you form a knot, just like that. Easy. And by the way, remember to have all sorts of different sizes, you know. Every bone in the skeleton is not the same. Now we brush it with some liquid spice. Use your family's favorite flavor. Bake it in a 400-degree oven for about 8 to 10 minutes until it's nice and crisp. And what better thing to serve it with than blood red tomato sauce that we have seasoned with pizza seasoning from Watkins. A delicious treat. And ghoulish. Okay, now, from that idea, how about an idea that's really good not only for Halloween, but really for any time during the Halloween season or the fall season? We're going to do a pumpkin bisque. Really delicious. Let me give you the ingredients for that. 1 can of pumpkin, 2 cups of chicken broth made with Watkins chicken soup base, 1/4 cup of brown sugar, 1 teaspoon of Watkins cinnamon, and 1/2 teaspoon of Watkins nutmeg. We're going to mix it all together in a saucepan and just heat it until it's nice and hot. Pour it into a bowl. Now this is a great treat for Halloween or Thanksgiving or any time in the fall, but here's a special little trick for Halloween. You know, this is a bear that has honey in it. And I always save these when they're empty because they come in handy for just tasks like this. In here I have put some sour cream, a little bit of milk to thin it, and a little bit of cinnamon to flavor it. And I'm going to create a spiral on the top of this soup. I have to get it down a little bit and then spiral it around. You don't have to be perfect. Just get it around like that. Now I'm going to take a toothpick or a tip of a knife and just draw it through that spiral to create a really creepy spider web. Like that. Isn't that beautiful? But what's a spider web without a spider? Well, while you get these recipes down, I'm going to go get the spider. I'll be right back. Here's how we're going to make our creepy spiders. For each spider, we need 2 frozen dinner roll doughs. Okay, we're going to thaw that dough. The first piece of dough, we're going to cut 2/3 and 1/3. The bigger part is going to be for the body. The smaller part is going to be for the head. The second dinner roll dough, we're going to cut into 4ths. Now, each one of these pieces, we're going to roll into long legs for the spider, okay? Here's how you assemble it. It's so easy. Your kids are going to love this project. Okay, we take one of the rolls and curve it. And the other one we curve around. Now the next 2 rolls get curved the other way. Like that. And don't worry, it doesn't have to be perfect. Now we're going to take the bigger slice of roll and put it like that for the body. And by the way, if you put that cut slice down over the legs, it'll stick beautifully. And the smaller part goes for the head. Okay, these are pretty creepy, all right, but we're going to make them even creepier with the addition of Watkins pepper. We're just going to sprinkle some pepper over it to make it particularly disgusting. Now, if your kids object to the taste of a pepper roll, try a little bit of cinnamon. Watkins cinnamon also makes it look pretty disgusting. Okay, so there's our spiders. Now a great idea and a very simple one for a baked apple. Instead of using the red apples that we usually use, we're going to use a Golden Delicious that hasn't turned golden yet and is still green, just like the poison apple in Snow White. And here's a trick. We're going to take a melon baller to scoop out all of the insides. Then we're going to fill it with some brown sugar and some Watkins cinnamon. Bake it at 350 degrees for about 20 minutes until it's nice and soft. And then we're going to fill it with gummy worms. Really a disgusting dessert. Well, I hope you have a happy Halloween. Watkins has brought all these ideas to you.
In recent years, it is now one of our major national holidays, and when it gets to be that big, someone's going to make big money, right? NBC's Roger O'Neill.
On a night reserved for kids, somehow it's always parents who get their hands in it.
There's an echo in here.
Carving the pumpkin is a humbling experience, not to mention frustrating. Given the tools of the trade, it's a wonder why more parents don't have 4 fingers instead of 5.
What I'm afraid of.
Art may be in the eyes of the beholder, but diamond squares and crudely carved teeth can only go so far, as evidenced by a walk around almost any block in America. Nonetheless, it's a ritual we must do.
Well, this guy lost his shoe.
If only there was a better way to impress the children how creative Mommy and Daddy are. 5 years ago, in the true entrepreneurial spirit, John Bardeen went to the bank and borrowed $500,000. He had developed a better mousetrap.
In the first year, we sold 92,000 kits. So at the end of the year, we owed the bank about $250,000. Needless to say, that didn't make my wife real happy.
So he appointed her president. That didn't solve the bank problem, but it did put an extra salesperson on the street to help distribute Carve-A-Lantern.
What we found out is if you knock on enough doors, you never know which door is going to open and what it's going to lead to.
It's led to $1 million a year business. And as long as there are pumpkins, kids, and parents, an even brighter future. The kids can now carve their own pumpkin.
Just poke right along the design lines because that's what transfers the design onto the pumpkin.
With a pattern, a poker, and a tiny little saw, the face of the jack-o'-lantern has been redefined.
Wow. That looks really good, Lily. I can't believe this.
Without the butcher knife, Bardeen can transpose the lowly pumpkin into some pretty amazing designs. Celebrity portraits can take a little more time, but almost any face can be carved. Finding the right pumpkin for this face took some time, but now there's even a Roger-Lantern. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Denver.
All of us at 11 Alive want you to have a happy and safe Halloween.